People say, well, you keep saying the same old thing. Well, yeah, something, some things don't change. The need to plan doesn't change. The need to get your house in order, ducks in a row, all that good, etc. That doesn't change. The biggest difference, I would say, the biggest difference over the last 30 years is when I got started at doing this stuff, way back in the day, over 30 years ago. There was a question about it. You know what I mean? You could say, oh, does Carrier's approach really work? And I've been fighting against the probate industrial complex, whatever you want to call it, traditional estate planning, and the way it's done, for over 30 years. It's like, the big problem with the state. There's two problems with estate planning. I'll give you the short course in case we have any new listeners, right? The short course is, number one, it's aimed at the wrong thing. When people do a will or trust, all that kind of stuff, they're like, oh, I want to avoid probate. Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah, that's a good thing. Why not? Why not avoid probate? I want to lose 20 pounds too. But yeah, avoiding probate is a good thing. Nobody's saying it isn't. And I want to save taxes. Yeah, that's a good thing too. Of course, the real death tax on the middle class, nobody talks about. We talk about it, but nobody else. I don't hear anybody else talking about it. Right, the middle class death tax. Don't hear it. Okay, well, that's another thing that we're addressing. And then the third thing is the get it to the kids. Well, which are all fine things. I'm not saying they're bad. They're not bad in themselves, but they're short-sighted. They ignore what the real problem is. And the excuse of the estate planner, attorneys and whoever else it is you're talking to, their excuse is, well, I did what you wanted me to do. I did what you told me to do. Yeah, you did what I told you to do. Okay. But I expect you to know more. I came to you, Mr. Expert Estate Planner, all right, because you're supposed to be the smart guy. You're supposed to know what I don't know. Like, if I already knew it all, what do I need you for? Well, you don't. Okay. But you don't get, it's just the same thing over and over again. And then assuming that was good advice, avoid probate, save taxes, get it to the kids, assuming that those were correct goals, something that you should want to do, assuming that's right, which it isn't right. And I'll explain why. It's mind-boggling stupid, right? To think that that's your goal, then they don't follow through. There are all these trusts out there and they fail. Every single day they fail. Right? Why? Oh, and it's your fault on that too. They'll blame you for that. You can't talk to an estate planning attorney who does trusts, right? You can't talk to them for 5 minutes without them blaming the clients for the fact that the thing didn't work. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. I told them. Well, you didn't tell them in any way that made any sense, right? That even to avoid probate, save taxes, get it to the kids, it still fails. And so here's what I mean. Number one, estate planning should not be about your kids, should not be about the next generation, right? It should be all about you and your spouse if you're married, okay? If you're a single person, it should all be about you, right? I mean, number one, let's make sure that you're okay, all right? Let's make sure that what you've built up in your lifetime serves you. Like, how'd that become a bad idea? Oh, are you so selfish that, oh, you're just an awful person because you want your savings to be used for you. Oh, that's horrible. Oh, you want to take care of yourself? What a bad person you are. Oh my God, I can't even, outrageous that you should want to take care of yourself, right? Well, but your estate plan doesn't do that. It pretends that you're going to be okay. That's not reality. Reality is not that you're going to die in your sleep. Well, you might die in your sleep, but you'll be in a long-term care facility when you do it. Okay. I mean, I'm sorry that if this is the first place you've ever heard of Alzheimer's, you've ever heard of dementia, you've ever heard of physical decline. Okay. And it starts when you're in your 60s and it just keeps marching up. And when you're People have a pretty good run through their 70s, actually. You look at the numbers, you say this is a numbers game, right? Well, I've got to comment. I got to comment on numbers games too, if you'd like. But you say, well, I'll be good till later. Yeah, sure. Right. Well, not if you make it past 70, and then if you make it to 80, well, good night, Irene. Right. That's just you just look at the numbers, and I'm not saying look at David Carrier's numbers. All right, look at the federal government numbers. We published them in the paper. When we were doing that, we've got them online. It's easy; they're very easy to find. Okay, what the utilization is of long-term care is 70%. When you're 65, you got a 70% shot at 3 years of long-term care, skilled care. That's what the government says. You just go longtermcare.gov. It's right there. I don't have to make this stuff up. The government did it for me. All right. It's right. It's right there. Very obvious. So if you're not planning for that, you're not planning for any.